Hey everyone, my name's Yale Greenfield, aka the Live King. Welcome to another episode of the poker vlog. You can see the mountains behind me. I'm in Pasadena, just a little bit outside of LA, getting a nice walk in before I start my poker session today. With that said, I'm not gonna waste anybody's time. I'm gonna get right into what people continue to ask for when I run into them in casinos. They want a food review. The place that we're gonna review is Mun Korean Steakhouse in Koreatown in Los Angeles. And it's actually pretty amazing that I haven't yet done a Korean barbecue review, because Korean barbecue is, if not my all-time favorite meal, it's certainly one of my all-time favorite meals. And I forget that if you don't live in Los Angeles, a lot of people have never been to a really high quality or ever been to a Korean barbecue place at all. So at Mun, they do it a little bit different. It's a little more modern, it's a little fancier, they pump a little music. It doesn't have that old school vibe that some of the most famous Korean barbecue places do have. The most flavorful meat that we had was the ribeye, and ribeye isn't something that you see at every single Korean barbecue. The item that is gonna be most featured is the galbi. And if you're a huge galbi fan, which is what most Korean barbecue aficionados will tell you, this is probably not the place for you. Because ironically, while the food was amazing and I had a great experience, the galbi here was kind of ho-hum compared to other places. And then the banchan is all really good. Banchan at Korean barbecue means side dishes. So you've got your kimchi, potato salad, you get kimchi stew sometimes at some places, you get regular salad. So at Mun, overall, I would say everything is excellent. They've got a big bar, tons of options on soju and cocktails and wine. Definitely check out Mun Korean Steakhouse on 6th Street in K-Town in LA. Today, I'm gonna head over to Commerce Casino because the bike's been pretty dead. So over there, we'll see how the 5, 10, 1500 cap game looks, and then we'll make a decision how we wanna proceed with the day. I'll be back at the very end to give you guys a recap of everything I was seeing, feeling, and thinking.
Somehow, this is our very first vlog from the most infamous casino in all of Los Angeles, the Commerce. Today, I'm starting out in 5-10 no limit hold'em, buying in for $1,500, which is the maximum. This first hand occurs about 15 minutes into the session. We've got pocket tens in the big blind. Under the gun's gonna limp, as is middle position. Cutoff gonna call, the action back on us. We've got an easy decision. 80?
80.
I decide to go with $80. Under the gun calls. Middle position's in there. Cutoff's gonna take a price, so we've got 3 non-believers joining us to this flop. It's a good one, 7-4-2, 2 spades. We've got an overpair with a spade. We settle on a bet of $210. Under the gun lets it go. Middle position's got a short stack. He's all in.
How much is it?
410.
410
Yeah.
total, right? All in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just 200 back to me, and we're going to see 2 more cards.
Pretty good. I'm ahead so far.
Deuce of diamonds.
Now I'm not.
And an 8 of spades. He shows us the bad news. Limp calls 80 with queen 5 of spades and wrecks us. I'm just a little late filming here, but what's happened so far is I've opened ace queen of hearts in the cutoff to 35, and Mr. Queen 5 of spades is in the small blind. He's raised it up to 110. Big blind's cold called, and now the action's back on us. I opt for a call rather than a raise, and we're gonna look at a flop. It's a good one, top pair, top kicker on queen 7-6 rainbow. Small blind leads 1 1/4. Big blind calls. And now we've got a decision. Is it call or is it raise? And I just don't think we should be piling in a ton of money just yet. So I put in the call. Jack of diamonds on the turn. And the small blind slows down by checking. Big blind checks as well. And this is an amazing sign that we almost certainly have the best hand. We fire 325. Small blind announces all in. That's the stack-a-donk line if I've ever seen it. Big blind's gonna fold.
8, 15,
6, maybe 9. 920.
920.
Yeah, 920.
Dealer informs us it's gonna be 920 total. And we call.
Jack no good, sorry now.
4 of spades on the river, and when he reveals the red king jack offsuit, we defeat him for a $2,645 pot. Here we've got ace king offsuit, and under the gun's raised to 6x. That's $60. I've seen her limp a bunch, and I've seen her open to 35, so I am very, very scared of this raise and proceed cautiously and just call. Now, if you're a watcher of this vlog, you know I love ace king. It's my absolute favorite hand. You could say it's blasphemy that I didn't 3-bet here, and I'd be okay with that. We hit this flop heads up, and it's ace jack 6 2 spades. Under the gun's reaching for her chips, and she bets $60. I just call. Turn is a major blank. It's a 4 of diamonds. She reaches again and quickly bets 100. My brain is starting to churn a little bit. Do I want to start piling a little bit of more money into the pot? I think she mostly has really strong hands given the sequence of events, so I just call. I don't know if I raise if hands like kings or queens could call. She could have a hand like ace queen, pocket aces, or pocket jacks, and we're gonna get a river, which is a king of spades. That's gonna bring in the front door flush. Now she checks fast. Once she does this, I'm not sure if sets are still in play. They certainly could be, maybe a hand like pocket queens. However, we have a clear value bet, and I go for 175. She's thinking it over a little bit, puts in the call, and turns her hand over first. It's ace queen offsuit. The one hand I don't want to see that was probably in range. You could easily argue I made the absolute minimum here, but I would mostly take issue with the fact that I didn't 3-bet pre-flop, not so much the post-flop play. The 5-10 game I was in got boring and slow, so I felt it was time for a table change, and there was a fire 10-20-40 no limit game at the table next to me, so it's shot-taking season. We're in there. Under the gun's open to 120. We peel 2 kings in the hijack. Middle position calls. It's 3-bet time. We go 400. And you might be looking at this saying, what are you doing? It's so small. Well, you'd be right. I completely missed the under the gun's open to 120. I thought the middle position was the opener, and now I've offered everybody a sick price on a call. The straddle cold calls, he was major action. Under the gun takes a price, as does middle position. This is a big blunder and a shot take. Flop comes queen, queen, 5, 2 clubs. Straddle checks. Under the gun checks. Now the action's on middle position. He's a fishy player, but I'm not super familiar with him. He goes for 220. This is an odd and kind of weak size, but some people would do this with hands they'd like to continue, like a weak queen or a flush draw. I go for call, which in hindsight I don't really like. I think hands like pocket aces, pocket kings, and queen X can all raise this size to probably 650 or 700. Another probable error here. I don't think calling's terrible, but I think raise is preferred. Straddle folds. Now the action's on under the gun. He's a very solid player who usually plays at the Gardens. And he goes all in for 4,500. Middle position gets out of the way. I think this is somewhat close, but this guy's been really solid over my sample, so I decide to get out of the way as well. All in all, a terribly played hand by me. We're reeling pretty hard from that pocket kings error. This hand is going to feature an interesting opponent. He's the low jack. He raises to $110. He used to play 5-5 at the bike and build 12K stacks on the regular. Now he's playing 10, 20, 40 daily. We've got LiveKing's absolute favorite hand in the hijack, ace king suited, and this time we get the right 3-bet size. We make it 400 to go. Low jack is pretty loose. He gets in there light facing 3-bets. He's gonna call. Flop 7, 6, 4, 2 clubs. We've got the nut 4 flush and 2 overs. Low jack's gonna check. I think it's more fundamental to check against this guy specifically, who can probably have all sets and even a straight on occasion. He's pretty wild, so I do check it back. Turns a queen of diamonds, and the low jack wastes no time snap overbetting for 1,000 into 870. This card's pretty good for us in theory. We don't actually have anything just yet, but we're gonna see a river, and it's a king of diamonds. Now the low jack once again blocks 1,000. We snap call. He shows jack 9 of clubs for a busted flush draw, and we're gonna win a $4,870 pot in this shot take. The 10-20-40 no limit game with the commerce effectively broke when 5 people picked up. Now we're at the Bicycle Casino, where they had 2 5-10 games running at 1 a.m. on a Saturday night. The life of a grinder is, if you have the energy, you gotta go get that money, so I made the 12-minute drive up the road to keep my session going. In this one, we have a multitude of limps, under the gun, hijack, button, small blind, and big blind, and we raise it up to $200 with our ace-king offsuit.
18.
Under the gun asks for a count of our black chips, and we have 1,800 behind. And he goes for a raise. That's gonna be $355 more than our 200. Action folds to us, and I think this spot is pretty interesting. Calling is an option, however the play on our left might think we're tilting. Reason for this is I was recently involved in a pot where I got 2-outed on the river for a chop, and sometimes the way people perceive my reactions, they think I'm on fire tilt. But in reality, we just have it here. The other thing to know about this guy is he wears a Dolce & Gabbana chicken sweater. I once looked up the price, and it's about $1,500. So needless to say, he's probably not scared money.
All in.
We go Rip City all in, $2,085 with my absolute favorite hand.
I'm happy with the pot. It's okay. You give me the pot.
I'd be happy with this too. So.
Well, too late. I put in the last raise. You can let it go. No big deal. He can fold. If you haven't called by now, you can fold. No big deal.
If we can get him to fold a hand like pocket queens, jacks, or tens, this is a dream for us. And he does eventually fold. Solid pickup. Always trust the ace king.
Huh? I have very good hands.
Next hand, we've got ace jack of clubs in the straddle. Button has opened to $60, and the small blind has called.
210.
Big blind raises it up to 210. All I know about him is he's been extremely aggressive. I don't know if he's a pro or a rec. He's unfamiliar to me, but he's been playing very tricky and tough. In this spot, my only options are gonna be 4-bet or fold, in my opinion. I don't like playing cold calls here.
475.
This time I roll a 10 and decide to raise to 475. Nah, I'm just kidding. I didn't roll a 10. This is live poker. I'm just taking it to the streets here. Button's gonna fold, as is the small blind. Big blind does call the 4-bet. Not exactly surprising to me. Flop comes ace high, rainbow. We got top pair, and the big blind checks. Reality is we're kind of low in range. This is gonna be in one of the worst hands that we get there with pre-flop, but we've hit top pair. Betting really, really small or checking seems okay. I tend to favor checks in this spot. And that's what I do this time. Turns a 3 of spades, bringing in a potential spade draw. If he called with a hand like king, queen of spades, which I think he would. Big blind checks. Now we go for a bet of $300. Big blind decides he doesn't want to continue. We're gonna pick up a small one. It's about 2:30 a.m. now, and this casino switch has worked out quite well. We've got 10-9 of hearts in the cutoff.
60.
And raise it up. Small blind recreational is gonna call. And the tricky guy from the last hand's gonna call on the straddle. Flops 10-9-8 2 diamonds. That gives us top 2 and a backdoor flush draw. Sick flop. Small blind checks. Straddle leads for 100 into 190. Very peculiar play, and it's got me wondering what he's hoping for here. I have to evaluate whether or not it's good enough to raise and decide this hand isn't on a board this wet containing straights with hands like Queen Jack 7-6 and Jack 7. I just want to see a turn and make some decisions. Small blind comes along as well, and 3 of us hit this turn. It's an ace of hearts. Small blind checks, and Straddle sizes up. He makes it 425. Now this is a peculiar spot because our hand looks incredibly strong on the surface. But if you dig down a little bit deeper, the Straddle's really telling a story that not only is he not concerned about an ace, but that his hand is so strong he's happy to bet 425 into 2 opponents. In my opinion, raising is out of the question at this point, as is folding, so I just call. And the small blind goes snap all in after I call. That is not a sight I like to see. He makes it 2,300 in all. Straddle quickly calls. Now this is just gross. This just feels like a sick puke spot. I'm getting a pretty good price, and it looks like I've got about 13 outs. That said, if someone's got a hand like ace 10 or a set, we don't really have 13 outs here. And I decide the price isn't quite good enough and decide to let my hand go. River's a 4 of clubs.
2 pair, aces up.
Small blind announces aces up and shows ace 8 of diamonds, which had us beat. And the Straddle has 7-6 offsuit for a flop straight. I think my decision here was probably pretty close. And even at this point, I'm not quite sure if it was good or bad. In game, I felt it was a little worse than break even to call getting this price and decided to let my hand go. Another extremely difficult and tricky hand. Last hand of this multi-casino session. We've got King Jack offsuit in the cutoff and raise it up to 60. Only the Straddle's gonna call. Same opponent that we've been in battle with the last 2 hands. It's been a war between us. Flop is Queen of Diamonds, 9 of Hearts, 5 of Diamonds. We've got a gut shot, straight draw, and an overcard, and Straddle's checked.
90.
Bet 90.
Go for a bigger size bet on this flop of $90.
230.
Straddle's not having it. He check raises to 230. This is a pretty small size. Haven't really seen anything like this from him just yet. But if you look at the makeup of our hand, any 10 that isn't a diamond makes us the complete nuts. And there are a variety of runouts where we can also bluff. For instance, if a diamond hits the turn or hits the river, we've got a jack of diamonds where we could represent a flush if he checks to us. Sometimes a king is good if we hit that as well. And I just think this hand has way too much equity to ever consider folding to this size or much of any size. So I do put in the call. King of Diamonds hits the turn. That gives us top pair, a gut shot straight draw, and a jack high flush draw. Straddle continues telling his story. He goes for a bet of 320. With that said, against a guy who isn't completely face up, I don't think there is a ton to do here. This hand doesn't want to raise. It's got so much equity. Sometimes we're good. Sometimes we can improve. I think the best thing to do here is just call and evaluate rivers. King of Clubs hits the river. We've got trips.
Sorry, hold on. There's black back here.
Straddle's taking a look at our stack, and now he decides to check. Well, this is a weird spot. We went from no pair on the flop to trips on the river. However, flush is present, as is Jack 10, which makes a straight. We also have really good blockers to a lot of hands that are extremely strong. And the opponent has checked and shown some weakness. I don't really know if we should be value betting here. Most of the time, I think it's close and just decide to check it back, figuring there isn't much I can get called by. And the opponent slowly rolls over 6-5. He's got 1 pair. Our hand's good, and I don't really know about this one. I'm gonna review it later and see what the best possible thing I could have done on the river was. Just not sure at all.
All right, guys, that is going to be the end of it today here in the bike parking lot. One of my favorite places to do these outros with you guys. Let's get into some thoughts. What happened today is that I really think this is emblematic of what it's like in the life of a grinder, or at least in my eyes, the life of a grinder. I'm a mid-stakes poker professional. I played at 2 different casinos today. I played 3 different stakes, 5-10 no limit, 1500 cap at Commerce, 10-20-40 no limit at Commerce. And when those games got bad, in my opinion, I decided to come over to the bike and play a 5-10 game here, which was primarily 5-10-20. Yeah, what I'm really trying to do is just find the best possible games that I can in order to enhance my bottom line. And sometimes that means sitting a slightly tougher game at a bigger stake. Sometimes it's just finding a game with 7 fish in it and trying to make as much money as possible. Yeah, I think today was just a really good example of what it's like for me and what goes through my head as I play a 10-hour session. The drive between bike and Commerce is about 11 to 16 minutes, give or take. It's really not that bad, but a lot of people don't like breaking up their day like that. Otherwise, I think I really played a lot of really interesting hands today, and it's pushing 4 a.m. right now, so I don't really have the wherewithal to know how well or how bad I played the spots. I know there's gonna be some stuff to look at. I am thankful that I have friends, my producer being one of them. He's my producer, but he's also a really, really great poker player. So I'm lucky for that. But I've got some other friends that I also talk poker with. You know, I get to take these hands to them and try to get a little bit of help in understanding what I could have done better. Because undoubtedly, in any day of poker, I'm gonna be making so many mistakes. Always looking to be better, always looking to improve. So with that said, let's just get to the results here, starting at the Commerce. I was in for a total of $4,000, out for $5,210 for a profit of $1,210. Over at the bike, I was in for $4,000 and I was out for $3,337. So a pretty good day, 10 hours of play. We show a tidy little profit today, and that's a good way to start out old 2023 with a vlog on the side of Profitville. All that said, once again, thank you so much for watching. As always, we really appreciate it. We got more LA vlogs coming your way soon. I'm gonna be hanging out here for a little while. That's annoying. Because I'm gonna be hanging out in LA for a little bit. Gotta be out in this good weather. I got short sleeves on at 4 a.m. It's probably about 50 degrees. We'll see you next time. Live King out.